Welcome. Today is Thursday, June 27th, 2013, and this is Jules, guest hosting today on Nuked Radio. Hope everyone is doing well today. We have a special broadcast, special guest, Mr. Kevin Blanch, on with us today with some information that he has come into possession of that is extremely important and everyone needs to hear about in regards to Fukushima. Mr. Kevin Blanch, I don't think that you've said anything yet. How are you, Kevin?
No, I'm good. I'm great. I'm doing well. Come miles. I actually feel the best I've felt since the whole cancer nightmare began.
Oh, that's
but
great.
I'm doing good. The media cover-up, the marine biology cover-up, the marine ecologist cover-up is, it's annihilating us in this cause. This cause is quickly turning into Chernobyl 2.0. And, the way it's going, if we drop the ball right now and everybody's got Fukushima burnout to the 10th power and we can get no marine biologists from the United States, I don't even know what to say about those guys. I cannot believe. But anyway, there's a bunch of breaking news that I've gotten in the last 48 hours. Now, there's 2 studies out of the Pacific Ocean. There's actually 15, and I want people to, before I read these and get into this, I want people to be very clear on this, that a lot of this has been hiding in plain sight. Now, I have a whistleblower who I've been working with. I have several whistleblowers that I've been working with from day one. I have a whistleblower from CNN. I have a whistleblower in the TEPCO in Japan, which that one's gone now because, as we know, they blocked everything coming out of Japan. I would get hundreds of emails a day until they, a lot of people don't know they passed a law in September of 2011 to block anything coming out of Japan to us, so we don't get anything. I have a whistleblower at Cal Berkeley who came to me well over a year ago, long time ago, at their marine biology department. He emailed me their early data from their boys in the Pacific. You're talking the biggest marine biology department probably in the world, the most important one in the nuclear thesis. To understand the nuclear fight, you have to understand Cal Berkeley. That is the home of Oppenheimer, and then it pivoted from that to John Goffman. Now, John Goffman wrote Poison Power, and it's a very, very big deal, as he was key when the movement was going on in the early 70s, and a lot of people don't know there was an organic farmer in the Northwest who committed some eco-terrorism and based on Goffman's ideas, and so the whole battle of nuclear fallout, Oppenheimer's home, this whole madness was cooked up at Berkeley. So the fight has always gone there. It has always been there. The nuclear machine, it's pivoted back and forth. Well, the early data that he sent me well over a year ago, and I could never confirm it, and Jan and I have talked about this over and over, and I'm like, I cannot put this out unless I get it confirmed. And it's showing plutonium, cesium, all these things in the boys early off the coast of California, not off with it. And, we have this debate on this 2011 study, this tracer study. Now, so the machine, we have this professor at Stony Brook. This guy is a propaganda puppet for the IAEA, for the nuclear, and who's the World Health Organization is the nuclear industry. People need to understand that. And so they're going right out of the Chernobyl playbook. These are the people that told us that Chernobyl killed 4,000 people, when Chernobyl kills probably in excess of 400,000 or 500,000 people a year, every year, and will forever. So, anyway, Lonnie Clark sent me this link of the bioscience geo-platform. It's in Europe. There's a platform in Europe where these scientists go to each other and they list all these different studies, blah, 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 blah. Well, they go ahead and post their Fukushima. They gathered 15 different studies from Fukushima, and they posted all 15. Well, a person left a comment on the Berkeley's air and water monitoring site, basically saying, hey, will science save us from the cartel? A really beautifully written one, whatever. So, I saw it, and then it linked to this site, and I'm like, wow, how come we aren't seeing these studies? So I emailed this whistleblower. That I have the email for this whistleblower. I don't even know who this person is. Have no idea who this person. Don't even know if they're real. I don't know if they're a total fraud or a fake. That's the way it works. I have no idea. But so I emailed. I said, "Is this you? Leave that comment." Yep, that's me, Kevin. And I'm like, "Well, what's going on inside the marine biology department at Berkeley?" He says, "You've got it exactly right. There's a war going on." He says, and I says, "Am I right about this is the United States government has went to all the marine biology departments and told them." He says, "Oh boy, are you right. If you only knew." And I says, "I think I do know." So I started reading through all these studies. Here we were in the dark about the studies, and TEPCO's told us the whole time they've been catching the water, and I reported clear back then, and any of us that have any logic, we know that it's been going in to the ocean. But everybody in the world has been looking for confirmation. You know, they're sitting looking at me, using the F-bomb over and over, going crazy, you know, blah, blah, and saying, you know, maybe this guy is just a whack, you know, and Jan, maybe she just, you know, they don't believe us. They're looking for confirmation, so the other side knows that. So the other side is putting out these things from this Professor Stony book, so I started reading through these. And I'm like, wow. Well, so anyway, there's 15 different studies. I get to the one in April, the last one that's out, and these are all Japanese and European marine biologists, dozens and dozens and dozens, some of the best in the world, in this debate forum, and they present their findings in their abstracts and then their final paper, and they're all right there. So I started reading through the one from April, the last one, the April 13, and I read into it, and it says, and I'll read it right here. It says that, here we go, right here. Abstract, the radioisotopes, and they use the word, and I posted this to my Facebook, exactly what it was, says word for word, verbatim, and this is when I really freaked out when I read this. They use the word radionuclide, which means radioisotopes, and I posted that in my video today, and I posted the Wikipedia definition of how what that means. It means a radioactive isotope. That's the word. Impact of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant on the distributions of these radioactive isotopes in seawater of the Northwest Pacific is compared with global fallout with atmospheric tests from nuclear surface. Now you have to remember, in marine biology world, you have to understand what before Fukushima, how much radiation's in the ocean before and after. Now, what they do, they know those data, and they continue to put them up, and they never go down because we had the Bikini bomb. The Bikini bomb was a gigantic, gigantic bomb. It was lit off in the Bikini Islands, which, by the way, the Bikini Atolls are still uninhabitable, and that's where we got the word bikini. That's where the word bikini came from, the Bikini Atoll Islands. It was considered sexy in those days, but huge amount of contamination into the Pacific from that. So they have to wait it. So they wait it. Surface and water column seawater samples collected during the international expedition. The international expedition, that's key. Has any of us ever been told there even was an international expedition? This is how nobody even knows there was an international expedition. So there was an international expedition in June of 2011. We're analyzing this 134 seas, 137 seas, anyway, sea level waters, offshore Fukushima, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and remember, we've got to remember, and this is the time frame that we were all being told by the media, by everyone, that it was all being contained by TEPCO, and none of it was getting into the water. And this is International's words. At the sampling site, about 40 miles from the coast, where all three radioisotopes were analyzed. Now, remember, 40 miles off the coast. This is in June of 2011. They found 3 pockets of radioactive isotopes. Okay? Were analyzed. The Fukushima impact on the levels of these 3 radioactive isotopes represent increase above the global fallout background by factors of about 1,000, 30, and 3 respectively. Now let's stop there and I'll continue. What does that mean? 3 times 40 miles out in that tank is enough to scare the living bejesus out of any marine biologist, out of anybody. One of them was 3 times. The other was 30 times. The other was 1,000 times. The water column data indicated that the transport of Fukushima delivered radioactive isotopes downward to the depth of 300 meters. That's a long ways down. Has already occurred. The observed 137 cesium level in surface water and in the water column are in reasonable argument with the predictions obtained from the oceanic general circulation model, which indicates that the radioactive isotopes have been transported from the Fukushima coast eastward. Now, this is June of 2011. They just printed out, and this is updated, and the abstract's done, and these are the best marine biology departments in Japan and Europe. There's dozens and dozens of them here as far as the marine biologists. So I'm talking to this whistleblower, and I says, really? Okay, so Fukushima happens. The greatest marine biology departments in the world are on the Pacific Rim in the United States. The University of Alaska, they're all up and down. There's some in Canada, too, in Vancouver, British Columbia. But the biggest one is Berkeley, Stanford, Washington, University of Washington, University of Oregon. San Diego State has a gigantic one. And remember, these are not private institutions. These are state, most of these that I just said are taxpayers. These are state. Now, people make the confusion with a state-funded university, think it's funded by the state. Academia and state-funded universities are funded by the federal government. At our university here alone, 86% of total funding, which is a gigantic sum of money, comes from taxpayer dollars, federal taxpayer dollars. So these are marine biology departments saying, so here's the greatest catastrophe in history, which this is being reported right here by this international team, and on the rim of the Pacific Ocean, which, by logic, I mean, it's here coming right towards us, not one single person has stepped forward. So I'm talking to this, whistleblower via back email, because I'm like, I've been dating this guy, and I don't know if it's a man or a woman. I don't know if they're real or not. I think they are. I mean, I really do think. I thought they were, because the early data that he sent to me, so I'm like, really? Is it really? That's squashed down, and every single one of these marine biologists, now one single person has broke ranks. So I emailed him. I says, so what is the penalty for breaking ranks? And he says, I don't know, and I don't want to find out. And I says, look, what are they going to do? Give you cancer? I used to laugh all the time. He would say, the nuclear industry hates you so bad, Kevin, that they mailed you leukemia in the mail. And I used to laugh. And then I got thinking about that, and I'm like, well, they didn't have to mail it to me in the mail, and they didn't have to, you and I, or any marine biologist, anybody. They gave it to us before we were born, with the 300 tests in Nevada. I mean, we're born with this in it, but this puts it way over the top. So, anyway, so then I find the other report that was released, as I released this one 2 months ago, that shows the containment, and this whistleblower rehammered that in the comments board to the Berkeley air and monitoring thing. And that study says east of Hawaii, and last time I was on your show we discussed this, east of Hawaii, and within 1 year, radioisotopes, cesium-134, thirtium-137, you got to realize cesium-137 is 100% from nuclear fallout. It does not occur in the natural world. It's 100% from what the basis test was, from the Bikini Bomb test, 3 times east of Hawaii shortly thereafter. And not one person in the United States. So then I talked to my one friend who, we grew up together. He's a brilliant guy. He has been in Alaska for 15 to 20 years. He's a genius. I run into him here. He's home visiting his father's passing away. We bumped into each other at the rally at Utah State Capitol on the GMOs. And he's like, Kevin, we haven't seen each other, blah, blah, blah. He had no clue that I had cancer. He had no clue that this Fukushima fight, and he knew that I was an anti-nuclear advocate way back then, and so was he. We both went to the U at the time when Wallace Stegner was there. Wallace Stegner was one of my professors. And my father, of course, he was another hardcore, huge nuclear advocate. And I'm like, I told him, we talked about Fukushima. And he says to me, Kevin, did you know I work for the biggest fishery in the Alaskan Gulf, which is the biggest fishery in the world? So he says to me, the northern cod, when they came in this year, which is the massive, massive catch that when you go to McDonald's, you go to Wendy's, you go to any of these places, you go eat cod anywhere. It's coming out of Fukushima, and they migrate, and that's the biggest fish source to the food chain in the world. he says they're seizing anybody with a camera, anybody that goes near the place, whatever. You try bringing a camera, he says, you're going to go for a swim. And he says, the Northern Colorado, when they came in, they had red burns all over them. I said, no. He says, yeah, red burns. And I says, well, maybe parasite. And he says, no, come on, I've been on this for years. You don't think I know the difference between a parasite and a net burn? These were red burns. I says, well, they had to be radioactive. He says, that's exactly what I thought when they come in, and he's no expert on nuclear science, but so what's going on, we're losing this war as far as the propaganda is becoming 2.0. And so I think our only hope right now, our only angle, is we really hammer, if you know them or any of you people that will listen to this, anybody, if you know a marine biologist, and they're all over California. There are hundreds and hundreds of marine biologists. You have a conversation with them. And I'm going to hammer this and hammer this and hammer this. You have a conversation with them and say, look, you got no conscience, you got no soul, you don't care about your children, your own grandchildren. Really, the greatest environmental catastrophe in the history of the world is in the ocean. That's what you do. That's what marine biologists do. That's what ecobiologists, there are thousands on the Pacific Rim, and not one of you. And okay, so if you're saying that Kevin's wrong on this and these other marine biologists are wrong, this international team's wrong, then step forward and prove us that we're wrong. But you need to tell me you're not even going to make a statement. You're not even going to release a study. You're not even going to freaking do a study. You're just going to sit there and ignore it. I mean, it's the most obscene thing I've ever. It makes the 9/11 cover up on Balco. One single isotope into a fish's flesh or into anything in the human body can trigger leukemia, and not chronic leukemia, AML leukemia. And we know for a fact, I've been in the #1 AML leukemia unit fighting for my life. I should be dead. I'm a walking miracle because of my knowledge and diagnosis. I had I was in critical condition for a long time. When most of these videos that I've done, a lot of people don't realize that I've done these in critical condition. I was told not to travel to the Songs hearing, but I did it anyway. I was told not to freaking go to Manhattan for activism, but I did it anyway. I've been sponsored by some grassroots activists, and they come forward to help me out. When I got cancer, I had a pretty big stock portfolio. I had about $600,000 in it, and I had to fork it over. The average treatment for this type of leukemia is the average treatment, if you live, which it kills 70% of people, is $1.4 million. I negotiated a deal. They took the deal. It wiped me out completely. But anyway, we've had 6 females die in there just as of late. 6. We're talking the #1 leukemia unit in the world. We know the young oncologist in Seattle, and it's all over, and people want to ignore it. She got breast cancer at 38, post-Fukushima, and she made a huge statement. It was all over the Seattle Times that, she runs that unit in Seattle at the University of Washington, and she said that I'm seeing breast cancer more and more aggressive, and the symptoms are hardcore, and they're in the bone. Now, why are they in the bone? Nuclear fallout. When the plume came over, as RadNet did not work, as we know that, which is, talk about a conspiracy. Gina McCarthy, head of RadNet, who's now head of the EPA. Now, this is important to hear this. We were all ears on Obama's speech the other day. All ears, because we know that Gina McCarthy is out of the MIT propaganda, IAEA, UN, World Health Organization, nuclear machine. That's why RadNet went down. She was told that RadNet went down. She's the new head of the EPA. Well, the new head of the Energy Department, Ernest Monsey, has worked, not in the public sector, in the private sector, for the company that's trying to build the nuclear plant in Ohio for 20 years. It's public domain. He's appointed. Well, you're listening to Obama's speech, and I was very concerned. He goes on, tapping coal, which, by the way, anybody that doesn't think nuclear is the dirtiest, filthiest, nastiest thing in the history. It's thousands of times dirtier than coal. So we've fallen for it on the left. They pushed this, that global warming, which global warming is very real, but they've pushed it that the answer to global warming is to dirty coal, is nuclear. That's the biggest, that's a propaganda machine tool orchestrated by guys like Eric Lax, Dr. Peter Gale. These people all work. And by the way, Peter Gale, the famous oncologist in L.A., was funded by Arm & Hammer his entire life. And Peter Gale and he were best friends growing up. And they write all these books, pro-nuclear programs. He runs the West 10 leukemia unit at UCLA. Again, they're tied into the marine biology department. Well, I'm in East 8. Our oncology students hate that guy. Arm & Hammer is responsible. That company is the biggest contributor to the cover-up of Chernobyl out of any company, even bigger than Westinghouse and GE. So Westinghouse and General Electric have went to these marine biology departments via the government. So who is the government? Well, Barack Obama in his speech, we hear one line. And I went, oh, there it is. He said, we're building our first nuclear plant in decades, which they are in Georgia. They're trying to build one here in Utah, Blue Castle. It's been me who's been fighting it with a central line hanging on my chest at the Capitol. It's corrupt, dirty, 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 corrupt. So, but anyway, the bottom line to this, these studies are out. We finally got our hands on them. This has been we have no confirmation. So we've been told there are no international teams studying it. You know, the science world knew that there was. Anybody with logic knew there was. But the study that is released from the platform, the Biogeoscience, and you have that link, remember, these are in Europe. These are on Europe. And the Japanese scientists, which they're being squashed on. So it's the Europeans that have to report. Now, think about this. Why would the Europeans be reporting the greatest catastrophe into the Pacific Ocean? I can see it was in the Mediterranean, you know, or the Atlantic. This is the Pacific. And the ocean currents flow left to right. Now, this statement, what it says, the international team, 300 meters down the column, observes 137 seas levels of surface water in the column are responsible argument with predictions obtained from the ocean general circulation model. Now, the general circulation model, what that shows is the currents. The ocean's not a bathtub. It has major currents. So there's the Japanese current that goes down along the coast. It hooks up just right there next to Fukushima. There's a small current and there's a barrier reef right there. It goes down. It hooks into what we call the Japanese current. It's one of the swiftest rivers in the world. It loops up and it comes down and it gets, you know, close to San Francisco, off the coast. It splits and it goes up the coast and it loops into the Gulf of Alaska, the greatest fishery in the world. Then it comes all the way into the California current, all the way down, right next to the coast of California, all the way down, which would explain the burns on the sea pups, another part of the cover-up. And so if this is true on the international, what they say is that these isotopes, 300 meters down in the column, background by factors of 1,000, 30, and 3, that means it is all the way up and down that freaking coast, all the way. Now, if there's cesium-137 and cesium-134, there's Pu-239. Now, cesium-137 and cesium-134 are evil, evil, nasty killers. They're invisible, they're smellless, they're tasteless, they're so minute, and I equate it, when I do my lectures, I equate it to, we were having the arguments 100 years ago, a little over 100 years ago, about germs. And people would say, oh, no, you got to remember, 80% of the populace, just a little over 100 years ago, believed that these scientists were insane and it was all bullshit, that these little germs flew through the air and got in people's body and transported and killed, until we had the Black Plague. Boy, did that change. People have no clue what a plague that ravaged across the United States. And then they were like, oh, this is the same thing. People can't smell. And then we have the reports coming out that the IAEA presented that this hasn't killed anybody. And this needs to be very clear. I did a report a while back and said the mom, this was widely reported in the early days, that one of the Fukushima 50 had gone in there and he was getting ready to die. And everybody says, oh, that's an old report. No. I get stuff from Japan. When I went to college, I graduated the #1 school of business in the United States. #1. I taught in the #1. Very elite finance school. It was all Japanese students. I mean, it was all international students except for a few of us. We graduated 27 that year. 11 of them were from Japan. From very high up, very prominent families in Japan. I'm friends with 2 of them. They fled to Hong Kong, and they fed me this information. They told me straight up, Mikado told me straight up, and this is the most honest person, most brilliant woman I've ever known in my life. She says, he did die. And I says, so why not report? And she says, if you report anything out of Japan, you're arrested. And so there has been death over there from these people that were exposed. But the catastrophe of Fukushima, the wind was blowing out, it's been pushed into the Pacific Ocean. Fukushima is killing many, many thousands of people right here in North. We took the blunt. We took the blow, and yet the marine biology departments have not reported one thing. So here's these two studies, and I posted. You go to my Facebook, and they're all over there. I did a video. I posted. These studies are paramount. They're huge, and they're being leaked out. And they're not being leaked out here. They're being leaked out of whistleblowers in the marine biology department at Berkeley to departments in Europe. Now people say, well, this was just a comment page. Well, you have to remember what I'm up to. And I did a video this morning, and I said, look, when I used the old quote of Wayne Gretzky that Steve Chinese Jobs used to use, and I used PU instead of puck. I used puck, capital PU. I don't skate to where the PU puck is. I skate to where it's going to be. And so what I'm up to is trying to fold this into contemporary culture and trying to get this into people's brains and minds any crazy way I can dream of. Everything I want, because I don't want this to be true. I'm sick and tired of watching death. I've watched it in my face so grotesquely here in Utah. My father, it's an ugly, ugly, ugly death. But anyway, that's, the news that's out, it's powerful, and it needs to get out because mainstream media is going to completely, it's up to us. I mean, Jan and I had a conversation the other day. Are you still there?
I am still here, yes.
Jan and I had a conversation, Miss Milky the Clown. I was putting up videos in the early days, right on day one, went crazy, just snapped. She come on, she says, Kevin, when I first started doing videos, I didn't know what a spent fuel rod was. And I said, yeah, I could tell. I thought you were a guy. And she says, it's pretty bad. And she's a brilliant, brilliant woman. She is a genius. She's an amazing person. She says, it's pretty bad that I have to take up nuclear physics as a hobby. And I says, yeah. And look at you go, and look how she's educated herself, and look how she's told the world about this, and I've told the world about this. I mean, between the two of us, how many millions of views have we had? But people are tired, Kevin's a broken record, it's over and over and over. Oh, I am a broken record. But if I don't do this, and if Jan doesn't do this, and the group of freelancers out there, Patrick Henry, Murray Burke, Shane Russell, that are feeding us information, these investigative journalists, who's going to do it? Nobody. And this is going to kill so many people in your own family, and people are in such denial because, I didn't see it on the news. I haven't seen anything. So my point is this. Anybody, especially up and down the coast of California, or anybody across the country, there are 300 marine biology departments in this country with thousands of employees, thousands. If you know anybody that works in the marine biology department, you just sit, real simple questions. Say, hey, you're a marine biologist. You work for me? Yeah. You got kids? You got grandkids? Oh, yeah. What are you going to do in a few years when your grandson goes to school in a few years now, and his teacher, he has a good science teacher in the 4th or 5th grade, and the science teacher starts talking about this subject matter, which is taught in 4th and 5th grade, and says, hey, my teacher said that there was a nuclear meltdown at Fukushima that poured in the Pacific Ocean, and it's still ongoing to this day, and it's in the water. Isn't that what you do, is monitor the water and the air and the ecosystem in the Pacific? And they'll say, well, how come you haven't told us about this? And he can say to his own grandson, because I don't care about you. I could care less about you because I'm afraid. Because I'm afraid that if I do say something that they're going to Hastings me, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what they're afraid of. I really don't know. I think what I think they're afraid of, they make a lot of money. Marine biologists make a huge amount of money. They're great, great jobs. They're hard jobs to get in these departments. They say they're the happiest people in the world. I think they're afraid of losing their jobs. I think it's that simple, and I think all of them are afraid. But yet, not one single person can break ranks. So, all the audience, if you know anyone, you ask them, say, well, you have no morality? This is the greatest catastrophe, and we have these studies from all these marine biologists, the international team. 15 different studies these international teams have already presented. The abstracts are already, the final discussion has already been there. The final papers have already been printed on 13 of the 15. Final, done, over. And every one of them show that they lied to us completely 100%, and everything that I've been saying is totally 100% accurate. That they were dumping plutonium, and this thing has been going into the Pacific Ocean the entire time. TEPCO has not been catching it and putting it in tanks. They haven't had no answer. Chinese syndrome is going on, and this is all 100% confirmation, yet we have not one single marine biology department or one single person says, boo, this is the greatest cover-up in the history of this country. This, like I said, this makes the 9/11 cover-up, well, as I say, on Balco. Because this can kill any one of you. You know what the cancer rates are in this country? Not to mention Chernobyl heart in children. I have a young woman right here that post-Fukushima child, heart attack. She's in a coma, just came out of the coma, in a vegetable, she's going to die. You know, people, and I tell her, do you don't understand about Chernobyl heart? Do you know what that is? Do you know early radiation? They just look at you. And then they'll say, well, I haven't seen anything on the news, or, you know, I haven't read anything. That's what we're up against. We obviously know what the media is, but we have no chance with the media. None. Zero. We know that. I mean, no hastings you if you even try to freaking crack that dynamic. But what about the marine biologists? These are scientists. So, you know, I say, what are the scientists? Where the fuck are the scientists? What are they? And that's what we've got to hammer. So I'm planning on going to California the 15th of July, you know, and I'm headed right to marine biologist departments. And I'm going to cause some shit. You know, my guess is I'll probably get arrested. That's okay. I don't care. You know, if Megan Rice can give her whole life and be charged with the terrorism, which I know her, by the way, a peaceful activist who never did anything. This is the machine, the nuclear machine. She breaks in to Y-12. It's supposed to be so protected. No, she, a peaceful activist, 83-year-old nun, whose parents are the greatest human rights activists. Her parents, you're talking Dorothea Day, and you're talking, you know, Dr. Rice. You know, everybody in New York should know who those people are. Her mom and dad, the Catholic Workers' Rights Union. That's her mother and father. The greatest activists, I mean, they were worshipped in this country, her mom and dad. She was worshipped in this country. She has been charged with terrorism and sentenced to 20 years, her and two men. For peaceful protest, you should have maybe got 2 days. She's sitting in a prison in Georgia. This is what we're up against. So anyway, that's my rant, and that's, you know, this is big news. This international team has been there the whole time, and, you know, it was released into the ocean, and it is all over the Pacific Ocean. And another thing people need to be very clear on. Solution to pollution is not, this is not pollution. This is nuclear fallout. It does not only dilute, it grows. China syndrome's going on over there. It's burned through the floor. It's going on. There's 3 full core meltdowns. Chernobyl was one. They got rid of the cores at Chernobyl. Men went in with suits in increments of 10, 580,000 man project. They've done nothing here. We have 3 core meltdowns, and they continue to leach into the Pacific Ocean. It's not only not diluting, it is growing. And we know that from these late studies that are coming out. There's been 3 studies, released by TEPCO themselves in the last 30 days, saying that their wells, the last one was released just a few days ago, tritium showing up in their wells, this is their own words, 100-fold from just 3 weeks previous. Less than 3 weeks. I think it was 12 days previous. That's China syndrome. So not only is it in the ocean, it's been in the ocean the entire time in a massive, I mean, here again, the Fukushima impact of the levels of these 3 radioisotopes are up to increase above the global fallout factor by factors of 1,000, 30, and 3. And a water column indicated that levels in the surface water column, and this is a water column of 300 meters, has already occurred. The observations of 137 cesium, levels of surface water in column, a reasonable argument predictions obtained from the ocean general circulation model, which indicates the radiosets have been transported from Fukushima coast eastward. That's June of 2011. 1,000 times then. Well, if it's 1,000 times then, you can times that by many, many hundreds of thousands now. These are gamma rays. They grow. This has never been seen in the history of mankind. Never. Never, ever, ever. So, well, I guess we're just going to end. Here, Barack Obama makes a statement that, yeah, we're building a nuclear, like that's a good thing. I mean, it's absurd. There's propaganda machines. The nuclear industry, Western House of G, are funding anybody. You want to get, I'll tell you views, you want to get rich? Go make a pro-nuclear documentary and send it to Westinghouse G, the IAEA, where they'll send you all the money you want. Seriously, I'm not kidding on that. They'll fund you in secret to this. I mean, they'll send you cash in envelopes to your house. And I am not kidding. So that's what we're up against. So we have to attack this from the morality individual basis. We have to go, and this whistleblower at Berkeley, he claims he watches my videos, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if it's a he or a she. I'm really putting the pressure on that person to break ranks and verify these studies. And we can get it, we have to be the media. It's a sad commentary. So that's my whole thesis today. It's a big deal, and I'm frustrated. Well, everybody's frustrated.
Well, Kevin, the one thing that really gets me about all this, we assume that all this was going on. We assume that it was as bad as it is. It's pretty disturbing to see some real numbers and to see that they've just been sitting back and watching all this happen. I still am at a complete loss as to where the nuclear scientists are. If all the marine biologists have been watching this, you better bet that there's nuclear scientists that have been watching this too.
Well, the thing is, the nuclear scientists are the marine biology department. You got to realize that Cal Berkeley, that is ground zero. That is the biggest nuclear scientist theater in the world. There are hundreds and hundreds, and the marine biologists and the nuclear scientists are the same group of people. It's the same people. These departments work intricately with each other. Now, the air and water monitoring, which this person supposedly works for, who posted that onto, this was posted, this link was posted that we dug out, was posted to the air and monitoring website as a comment anonymously to Cal Berkeley's air and water monitoring. That air and water monitoring is heavily funded by the federal government,
right.
Heavily funded by the state of California. Under that umbrella lies their nuclear department, and their marine biology department is gigantic. Like I said, I could see the pro-nuclear. A lot of these scientists, they're pro-nuclear because you think about it. If we do away with complete nuclear, what do we need nuclear physicists for?
Well, sure.
We don't need them. Oh, they're all pro-nuclear because they know exactly which side their toast is buttered on, and they make huge money, giant money. The only people that make more money at universities than the marine biologists and the nuclear scientists are coaches, which is another obscene commentary. But they don't want to lose that money.
We could use them, though, to decommission the millions of tons of spent fuel that's laying around over the place,
I'm an environmental economist. I wrote a paper clear back. I was on the board who consulted to the Germans, and the IAEA told us it was going to cost $2 billion per plant. It's cost less than $20 million per plant. And I wrote a piece clear back then as an economist. I broke it hardcore down by decommissioning a plant. We create 500 to 1 jobs, 500 to 1 jobs by decommission. Then you know how many people are employed in a nuclear facility?
No.
Hardly any. That's why do you think they love it? It's the cash cow. There's no overhead on these things. The overhead is extremely, extremely small. So the decommission process is a big process, and like you say, trying to handle this nuclear waste, which we have no answer for. That is the big lie. Now they pass a law saying we're going to tomb it inside each reactor, which is we have 40 years building up. So by the decommission process, we create at least 500 jobs per every job we get rid of. And I did this with the patch and interview down there on songs. This is one of the big things. Is people have to realize the small group of us, our army, that I've been fighting songs for 40 years. And it was us grassroots activists. We got songs shut down. Make no mistake about that. People want to say it was economic. Oh, no. It was our small army. We shut down the nuclear reactor in San Diego, and that's a fact. People like Gene Stone, people like, Patty Davis, the whole Friends of the Earth, that whole machine down there, which is a bunch of just small grassrooters, we have fought tooth and nail hard. And we got it shut down. So, we're making progress. We're doing things. But this is like eating 15 herds of elephants one bite at a time. All we need one single marine biologist at San Diego State, UCLA, Cal Berkeley, one of them to grow a soul and come forward and break ranks. The California media, that's one thing people don't realize about the California media. It's very different than the rest of the country. Southern California media down there covered the songs fraud, as we've decided. They covered it heavily, and we made sure that they covered it heavily. We laid it out to him. Barbara Boxer's office called me. They had a long conversation with me. We've educated her. We woke her up over the last 3 years. She didn't know. These politicians don't know. And, like Jan says, nuclear physics is complex. It's not that complex, but everybody thinks it is, and they're afraid. So we have to educate these people. Knowledge is power. And as we educate, but if we get one single marine biologists, even in Hawaii, come forward and say, yeah, you know what, I can't not talk about this anymore. Because I know for a fact that they have buoys all over the ocean. We know, these are international studies that I posted, 15 international studies. Every single one of the studies says that there was contamination going into the ocean right off the gate, as I reported, not in the air, off the plume, pushed as they dump water. And like you said, people like you and I and so many people that watch and listen to us, we're preaching to the choir because we have logic and we're like, yeah, anybody with any logic, we think that. But the American populace doesn't think that. They're waiting for confirmation. If they got a little bit of confirmation, we could change this entire conversation. One person right now could become one of the greatest powers in human history right now. And I try telling this whistleblower that you come forward, you make a statement out of this, and you present your data, you will go down in history maybe as the greatest. I mean, you would be held in regards as Harriet Beecher Stowe. I mean, you would be maybe the greatest humanitarian in the history of mankind. And one of them needs to do it. And when that happens, it'll change. Nuclear is over as soon as it happens. The American populace will flip their ever-loving lids. So that's what we have to have.
And
if we don't,
you're so right, though. I mean, people just saying that, well, how come I'm not seeing this on the television? I mean, as far as me getting involved in this, that was at the very beginning. There was nothing. Absolutely nothing on TV. They were going on about...
The first 3 or 4 days, the dog and pony show with, Sanchez, Gupta, and Anderson, when they were over there, and when they got home, they got schooled real fast.
Yeah. Do you want to know, the one thing that was on TV was the Bin Laden raid right during that time, I'm pretty sure. And
shortly thereafter.
Yeah, shortly thereafter. And all they kept going on about is, the porn that they found in the Bin Laden compound. I'm like,
well, think about the news cycle we have right now. Think about the news cycle right now. They're talking about Paula Deen and the gay marriage thing. By the way, I want anybody listening in Utah to understand this. The gay marriage Proposition 8 fight in California is, the Mormon Church should lose their tax-free status. The Mormon Church is 100% of the funding fighting Prop 8. Now, who's on the other side of Prop 8? Bruce Bastian he invented Ovell, a billionaire who came out of the closet, a Mormon bishop who was gay. He moved to San Francisco. And by the way, Steve Young's wife. It's a Mormon-Utah fight, and Utah doesn't even have a speaking part in it because the Mormon Church has that kind of power, and the Mormon Church is in bed with the nuclear industry. GE and West. GE has tentacles through the Mormon Church that are incredibly powerful. They own my university that I hear. GE owns this university, and so that's why I get blackballed. I mean, when I was teaching before I got cancer, they annihilate me. All these professors don't know around here. They know I'm the quintessential expert on all this and always have been. And I have no platform because they know, again, people are so addicted to their job, their paycheck. They're afraid of losing that paycheck. It trumps all morality. It trumps all consciousness. It trumps even caring about their own kids and their grandkids. If you told marine biologists, hey, this is going to kill a few of your grandchildren, you care more about that paycheck than the lifespan of your kids? Apparently they do. Well, apparently that's the epidemic of America.
It sure is, and I can tell you just through doing broadcasting the last few years, I've known a few medical doctors who came out against the machine, spoke out about the studies that they were part of and things that they knew, and they were completely railroaded out of ever having any career.
Well, get this. I'm in the #1 leukemia in the world by default. It just happens to be named the old LDS Hospital, which is an historic, oldest hospital in the western United States, was ready to be tore down. This group of oncologists, none of them are from here. They're from Denmark. They're from Long Island. It's the greatest team of oncologists. It just by default, they were looking for a place to do this. By the way, the Huntsman Center, which people think that this is this big, powerful cancer research center, they, again, are funded. Huntsman Chemical is heavily tied with Westinghouse and heavily tied with General Electric. And as they say, these are rock stars in the oncologist world. I have a team of 7 oncologists that are considered maybe the best oncologists in the world. And they agree with me on this, and they agree exactly what you said. And they're breaking ranks. They're breaking ranks. And I'm here to tell you, I've been in that hospital now for a year fighting for my life. And on the Wasatch of Utah, there's 3 million people live in Utah. On the Wasatch right here in northern Utah, there's 2 million people. Over 2 million. In southern Utah, there's less than 400,000. The ratio of people from southern Utah to northern Utah dying in that oncology unit is 5-to-1 southern Utah. Now, that number is complete. The cancer capital of the world is southern Utah. Moab. You people that want to go ride your bike there and whatever, and finally, the Tribune released a paper and says, hey, if you're riding your bikes and you're going hiking and all you athletes that show up and you train and you run there, you do understand the nuclear fallout from the 300 open air test and uranium mines are all over in that dirt and tuss. And they said, you wear your mask. My doctors know this, and they're trying to break it. But like you said, the oncology world, via Peter Gale and Eric Lax, those two at UCLA, those two are the biggest criminals who ever walked. And they've stood the platform, and they're totally funded by this monster. So we have the oncology world funded by 70 years of this funding. Now, if you watch Barack Obama's speech, Barack Obama is a writer, a brilliant writer. You could see at the first of that speech how he speaks from the heart and the soul. That's what great writers do. Any great writer, any great thing, they can transfer emotion so magnetic. He does that. Well, you watch that speech. He starts out, you could see power. You could just see him wither in the speech. And you could see his speech just he doesn't mean any of it once he gets into it because he knows who's got control of him. When he gives the line about the nuclear, he almost does it in, I feel like he's ready to cry when he says it. They've got him. They've got him. The whole industry's got us all. And so the only way we break it, Megan Rice knows. She could have picked anything she wanted. You're talking the greatest activist in the world, bar none, is Megan Rice. She says in her statement, I gladly give my life. Where did she go? Why 12 and 10? That's where they moxie the fuel out of the nuclear waste and turn it into weapons grades material, which Blackwater's supposed to have. We spend billions in guarding it. Nobody even guards. Two guys just took snips, cut the wire, walked in. They took vials of baby blood they got from a hospital, gave them to them. They didn't have to go pierce no baby or anything. And as a metaphor, they sprinkled the blood in there and painted, a few signs, and just sat there and waited to be arrested. She knew what she was doing. I protested with her in the Nevada test site. She's a little old lady who's brilliant. She's 83. She's a nun. She's the most Christian person on the face of the earth. The prosecutor charged her and the judge. They charged her with terrorism. This is something maybe she would have done 30 days, her and the two men. He charged her with, and under the federal statutes, they're locked. The judge has it's automatic. And she says, I'm in prison for life, which she is. And so we thought, well, they'll let her out between sentencing. This judge, who claims to be a Christian in Tennessee, may God have mercy on his soul, hair-sprayed asshole, and he wouldn't even let them out awaiting sentencing. They're going to get sentenced September. They're sitting in prison cells, all three of them, in Georgia, awaiting sentencing. Under federal mandatory, been charged and convicted of terrorism. They're going to go to prison for the rest of their lives for a simple act of peaceful, 83-year-old nun who is the greatest humanitarian. She is the American Mother Teresa, and that is no bullshit. And this is the place we live in, and nobody wants to even talk about it. Well, she picked this cause because she knows, in her statement that she gave from prison, this evil disease that is killing all of us, I gladly give my life to try to call attention and try to heal this planet. She's a loving, peaceful activist. And that's where we're at. And nobody in America, so I tell people on an individual basis, I look them right in the eye. You claim to be a Christian, you claim to be any kind of spiritual. I don't care if you're atheist. I don't care if you're what spirituality, Buddhism, whatever you buy into. It all comes down to the same thing. You have no soul. You have no love. You have no caring. Really? Really? Is that who you are? You're so evil and hateful that you're willing to take this woman and annihilate her life. It is the greatest metaphor, and history will look back at this, and she knows that. This will be written over and over and over about our generation. I mean, Tim DeChristopher, he's on David Letterman, whatever, who I know very well. He's no Megan Rice, not even close. And so this is a powerful, powerful time that we're living in, and until people can grow a soul and grow a conscience and understand right and wrong, we're doomed. Well, it's already on.
Yeah, it's very disturbing that any judge could look at that, and even though his hands may have been tied because she was charged with terrorism, and he should have used that to make a stand. I mean, this is absolutely 100%.
Outrageous. Well, think about the prosecutor.
Yes.
Think about the prosecutor brought charges up against him. There's your freaking treatment. He claims to be a freaking born-again evangelical Christian. This is what this guy claims. So at the end, here's our court system. Get on your knees and beg for mercy, Longshanks. Kiss the ring, kiss the ring. That's what our court system's turned into. So the judge asked, make it right. And think about this judge, 83-year-old Christian who's the daughter of Professor Rice and her mom, the two greatest activists, the Catholic workers' rights movement, the Dorothy Day, the greatest activist in the history of this country, this woman. And he says to her, do you have any regrets? And she says, yes, Your Honor, I have one regret. What is it? That I didn't do this 70 years ago. And he hammered her. And the other two men, there's two men in there with her. They're, one's 53 and 58. They're probably going to die in prison too. I posted to all you people. Their website is called Plowshares. It's Plowshares blog, and it comes from right out of the book of Isaiah. And if you go to it, and I posted it all over. They list all three of them's names and addresses where you can write them. They have a blog that you can actually type a letter, to Megan Rice, and it gets to her, and it's the group of nuns that are running it. She's been corresponding with me from her prison with a lot of people, so you can write to her, all three of them. They're sitting in holding jails in Georgia right now, and I have all the information. I've posted it all over, and you just go to, type in on Google, just Google, Plowshares blog, and there it is, and they have a great website where you can actually send an email directly to Megan Rice, or a letter. You can type a letter, and these nuns will get it to her in her support. So, anybody who's got any kind of morality should be on her side. I mean, like I said, it's outrageous.
But they went above and beyond and threw the book at someone who was no threat to anybody. And if anything, this woman should be considered a hero for showing, despite all of the billions of dollars in surveillance and databasing and terrorist watching that they're doing everywhere, that this nuclear facility was so vulnerable that an 83-year-old woman and her two friends could get in and sit for, 4 hours?
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, unbelievable.
And she knew that. And, her not protesting the Nevada test site, her whole angle she has protested is she's not just the nuclear energy. She protests nuclear weapons because she's very brilliant. She knows, as I know, the whole time that the nuclear industry, that's why we can't get at them, because that's the Price-Cooper Act, that's all of it, are in bed because the waste and Moxie fuel. By the way, they use Moxie nuclear fuel in Fallujah on their own Marines. That is radioactive, and they're already showing up with cancer. They sprayed how many millions of pounds of freaking white phosphorus, enriched uranium all over, from the nuclear waste and everything, all over Iraq, including on top of their own freaking men. We know this factually, and so that's what she's protesting is, it is the root of all evil, and she knows that. And on every, the security angle, the weapons angle, the disease angle, she uses the word disease. Her statement that she released is so powerful. There'll be a stat. If she lived in our parents' time, or our grandparents' time, or our great-grandparents' time, there would be statues of her. Not only would she not be imprisoned, she would be worshipped. She's the Mother Teresa of our time. And people that are in the activism world and people that are in the real Catholic and real Christian freaking world, they know this. Yet they're perishing, they're flawed because religion's been hijacked by, God wants me to be rich. These mega church lying creeps. They're devils in hairspray. And so the flocks, they're not being taught any real Christianity. They don't even know what usury is. So it's a time, and she understands this, that it's a time where it's really, as far as a Christian concerned, as far as she's concerned, that the devil's completely got tricked. Now, I'm a very spiritual person, and I love that all about it, but I know, I don't know, I'm not a Christian, that's for sure, but I believe in morality, and I believe in the truth, and that's the crux of all this.
Exactly. I mean, morality and truth, religion doesn't even have to figure into it. It's about
Right.
being a human being and doing the right thing and standing up for, getting
Well, here's
out.
where religion has got into it. See, that's my whole point. That's why I use the religion card, because they've used religion as the weapon on us.
Mm-hmm.
Christianity they've used as the weapon here. The weapon in the far-right neocon, they completely kidnap the evangelical movement through the war. They do it via Christianity. Now, you watch any of these freaking far-left Christian, all of them, including this, I'm a Christian, I'm a Christian, I'm a Christian, I'm a Christian. They've used it as a weapon. They use it as a weapon to go to war in Iraq and bomb the hell out of a person who ever did anything. They use it in every repressive apparatus they can ever come up under the umbrella of Christianity. That's my whole point. It's the opposite of Christianity. So that's what's evolved as far as religion. That's the only reason I bring it up over and over and over, because it really, like I said, it has nothing to do with religion, because it's about truth and morality, but that's what the other side, that's what we're up against. We're up against the liars using Christianity as their weapon, and it's worked on their flocks. So who's the evil? The guy preaching from the pulpit, including the Mormon church. Usury is a pillar of Christianity. We're the usury capital of the world. Buy here, pay here. Here's a check freaking loan. 521%. That's usury. That's quintessential usury right out of the Bible. Jesus Christ threw the money lenders out of the temple. So my point is, if you're going to use religion as a weapon, then I'm going to call you on it. I'm going to call you on the hypocrisy of it. And that's what we need to do as a people. You want to preach religion from the pulpit? Okay, let me lay Christianity out to you. Just because I'm not this quote church-going Christian, I sure understand. It's like most atheists believe and are big fans of Jesus Christ, the man. They believe he was a liberal. I mean, my God, he was a radical. And so most atheists actually love his philosophies. It's about philosophy. And they completely hijack the other side. And we need to call them on it. I mean, and that's what Megan Rice is doing. She's calling them on it. And it's getting no traction, no media traction. You'd think that the Christian Science Monitor, which, by the way, I had it out with them in Eugene, their reporters. They're a big newspaper outlet. They played the Muslim card in the Boston bombers. Remember the article that came right out? When they rounded up the usual suspect, they just rounded up that Muslim kid, who didn't do anything. And the Christian Monitor freaking annihilated him in the press the day after. And I says, I'm going to hold you accountable. Well, before that, when I was in Eugene, I had it out with their reporter talking about these issues. I says, how you supported the Iraqi war? Thou shalt not kill, love them for they know, and those are the people that did it. And these people did nothing to you. And you call I said, you're the devil. You're going to rot in the full of Muhammad. God have mercy on your soul, I told the reporter. Because that's the terms they use. So I'm using their own ammo against them. And that's our only shot.
Kevin, I hate to do this, but we got about 10 seconds before the bumper comes in. Thank you so much for coming on today, guys. Libby Haleve is on next with Nuclear Hot Seat. I dropped the link into chat where Kevin's documents are. Sign up for his channel, Kevin Blanche on YouTube. And Kevin's got a couple new videos out. And
don't give up on this fight, all you activists. Don't quit. That's what they're banking on. Don't stop.
Yeah, don't stop at all. They're hoping that we will, and there's new evidence out there, so make sure that you take a look at it. I might be able to get it out there before the music gets loud. Do you know what it is? www.biogeosciences-discuss.net. Special_issue100.html. See if you can get there. All the numbers are there. And here we go. All right, guys, stay tuned for Libby Haleve up next, Nuclear Hot Seat, episode 106. Kevin, I will catch up with you soon. Thank you so much. Please keep us up to date. Anytime you want to come on air, just let me know.
I will. Thanks so much for the platform.
Thank you, Kevin. Thanks for listening, everybody.
13. And I read into it, and it says, and I'll read it right here. It says that, here we go, right here. Abstract, the radioisotopes, and they use the word, and I posted this to my Facebook, exactly what it was, it says word for word, verbatim, and this is when I really freaked out when I read this. They use the word radionuclide, which means radioisotopes, and I posted that in my video today, and I posted the Wikipedia definition of how what that means. It means a radioactive isotope. That's the word. Impact of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant on the distributions of these radioactive isotopes in seawater of the Northwest Pacific is compared with global fallout with atmospheric tests from nuclear surface. Now, you have to remember, in marine biology world, you have to understand what, before Fukushima, how much radiation's in the ocean before and after. Now, what they do, they know those data, and they continue to put them up, and they never go down because we had the Bikini bomb. The Bikini bomb was a gigantic, gigantic bomb. It was lit off in the Bikini Islands, which, by the way, the Bikini Atolls are still uninhabitable, and that's where we got the word bikini. That's where the word bikini comes from, the Bikini Atoll Islands. It was considered sexy in those days, but huge amount of contamination into the Pacific from that. So they have to wait it. So they wait it. Surface and water column seawater samples collected during the international expedition. The international expedition, that's key. Has any of us ever been told there even was an international expedition? This is how nobody even knows there was an international expedition. So there was an international expedition in June of 2011. We're analyzing this 134 seas, 137 seas, anyway, sea level waters, offshore Fukushima, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and remember, we've got to remember, and this is the time frame that we were all being told by the media, by everyone, that it was all being contained by TEPCO, and none of it was getting into the water. And this is the internet. I have a whistleblower, Cal Berkeley, who came to me well over a year ago, long time ago, at their marine biology department. He emailed me their early data from their boys in the Pacific. You know, you're talking the biggest marine biology department probably in the world, the most important one in the nuclear thesis. To understand the nuclear fight, you have to understand Cal Berkeley. That is the home of Oppenheimer, and then it pivoted from that to John Goffman. Now, John Goffman wrote Poison Power, and it's a very, very big deal, as he was key when the movement was going on in the early 70s, and a lot of people don't know there was an organic farmer in the Northwest who committed some eco-terrorism and based on Goffman's ideas, and so the whole battle of nuclear fallout, Oppenheimer's home, I mean, this whole madness was cooked up at Berkeley. So the fight has always gone there. It has always been there. The nuclear machine, it's pivoted back and forth. Well, the early data that he sent me well over a year ago, and I could never confirm it, and Jan and I have talked about this over and over, and I'm like, I cannot put this out unless I get it confirmed. And it's showing plutonium, cesium, all these things in the boys early, off the coast of California, not off with it. And, you know, we have this debate on this 2011 study, this tracer study. Now, so the machine, we have this professor at Stony Brook. This guy is a propaganda puppet for the IAEA, for the nuclear, and who's the World Health Organization is the nuclear industry. People need to understand that. And so they're going right out of the Chernobyl playbook. These are the people that told us that Chernobyl killed 4,000 people, when Chernobyl kills probably in excess of 400,000 or 500,000 people a year, every year, and will forever. So, anyway, Lonnie Clark sent me this link of the Bioscience Geo platform. It's in Europe. There's a platform in Europe where these scientists go to each other and they list all these different studies. Marshall's words. At the sampling site, about 40 miles from the coast, where all three radioisotopes were analyzed. Now, wait a minute, 40 miles off the coast. This is in June of 2011. They found 3 pockets of radioactive isotopes. Okay? Were analyzed. The Fukushima impact on the levels of these 3 radioactive isotopes represent increase above the global fallout background by factors of about 1,000, 30, and 3 respectively. Now, let's stop there and I'll continue. What does that mean? 3 times 40 miles out in that tank is enough to scare the living bejesus out of any marine biologist, out of anybody. One of them was 3 times. The other was 30 times. The other was 1,000 times. The water column data indicated that the transport of Fukushima delivered radioactive isotopes downward to the depth of 300 meters. That's a long ways down. Has already occurred. The observed 137C cesium level in surface water and in the water column are in reasonable argument with the predictions obtained from the oceanic general circulation model, which indicates that the radioactive isotopes have been transported from the Fukushima coast eastward. Now, this is June of 2011. They just printed out, and this is updated, and the abstract's done, and these are the best marine biology departments in Japan and Europe. There's dozens and dozens of them here as far as the marine biologists. So I'm talking to this whistleblower, and I says, really? Okay, so Fukushima happens. The greatest marine biology departments in the world are on the Pacific Rim in the United States. The University of Alaska, they're all up and down. There's some in Canada, too, in Vancouver, British Columbia. But the biggest one is Berkeley, Stanford, Washington, University of Washington, University of Oregon, San Diego State has a gigantic one. And remember, these are not private institutions. These are state, most of these that I just said are taxpayers. These are state. Now, people make the confusion with a state-funded university think it's funded by.
Welcome. Today is Thursday, June 27th, 2013, and this is Jules, guest hosting today on Nuked Radio. Hope everyone is doing well today. We have a special broadcast, special guest, Mr. Kevin Blanche, on with us today with some information that he has come into possession of that is extremely important and everyone needs to hear about in regards to Fukushima. Mr. Kevin Blanche, I don't think that you've said anything yet. How are you, Kevin?
No, I'm good. I'm great. I'm doing well. Come miles. I actually feel the best I've felt since the whole cancer nightmare began.
Oh, that's
but
great.
I'm doing good. The media cover-up, the marine biology cover-up, the marine ecologist cover-up is, it's annihilating us in this cause. This cause is quickly turning into Chernobyl 2.0. And, the way it's going, if we drop the ball right now and everybody's got Fukushima burnout to the 10th power and we can get no marine biologists from the United States, I don't even know what to say about those guys. I cannot believe. But anyway, there's a bunch of breaking news that I've gotten in the last 48 hours. Now, there's 2 studies out of the Pacific Ocean. There's actually 15, and I want people to, before I read these and get into this, I want people to be very clear on this, that a lot of this has been hiding in plain sight. Now, I have a whistleblower who I've been working with. I have several whistleblowers that I've been working with from day one. I have a whistleblower from CNN. I have a whistleblower in the TEPCO in Japan, which that one's gone now because, as we know, they blocked everything coming out of Japan. I would get hundreds of emails a day until they, a lot of people don't know they passed a law in September of 2011 to block anything coming out of Japan to us. So we don't get anything, blah, 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 blah. Well, they go ahead and post their Fukushima. They gathered 15 different studies from Fukushima, and they posted all 15. Well, a person left a comment on the Berkeley's air and water monitoring site, basically saying, hey, will science save us from the cartel? A really beautifully written one, whatever. So, I saw it, and then it linked to this site, and I'm like, wow, how come we aren't seeing these studies? So I emailed this whistleblower. That I have the email to this whistleblower. I don't even know who this person is. Have no idea who this person. Don't even know if they're real. I don't know if they're a total fraud or a fake. That's the way it works. I have no idea. But so I emailed. I said, "Is this you? Leave that comment." Yep, that's me, Kevin. And I'm like, well, what's going on inside the marine biology department at Berkeley? He says, you've got it exactly right. There's a war going on. He says, and I says, am I right about this is the United States government has went to all the marine biology departments and told them. He says, oh boy, are you right, if you only knew. And I says, I think I do know. So I started reading through all these studies. Here we're in the dark about the studies, and TEPCO's told us the whole time they've been catching the water, and I reported clear back then, and any of us that have any logic, we know that it's been going in to the ocean. But everybody in the world has been looking for confirmation. They're sitting looking at me, using the F-bomb over and over, going crazy, blah, blah, and saying, maybe this guy is just a whack, and Jan, maybe she just, they don't believe us. They're looking for confirmation, so the other side knows that. So the other side is putting out these things from this Professor Stonybrook. So I started reading through these, and I'm like, wow. Well, so anyway, there's 15 different studies. I get to the one in April, the last one that's out, and these are all Japanese and European marine biologists, dozens and dozens and dozens, some of the best in the world, in this debate forum, and they present the findings in their abstracts and then their final paper, and they're all right there. So I started reading through the one from April, the last one, the April